Hello, welcome to the fourth session of the second week of our course Product Lifecycle Marketing Management Part 2, in which we are discussing product lifecycle management. In the previous session, Dr. Mishra has introduced to you the product lifecycle concept, and we were discussing about the evolutionary nature of marketing at different stages of the product life cycle. We also started discussing then the particular emphasis that need to be paid and the different attention, resource allocation strategies required at the early stage. So, today I think Dr. Mishra will continue on the finer points about the marketing strategy needs at the early stage, at the introduction stage. We are putting emphasis on this introductory stage because for new products, new services, which is the overall theme of this week, the understanding of the fuzzy front end at the design stage or product concept stage is as important as this early introduction stage and the different finer points of marketing at the early introduction stage. Yes. Dr. Mishra.
So, thank you. We started talking about the introduction stage, and the introduction stage we have talked about the characteristics of this introduction stage, like you have technical problems, you are ramping up your production facilities so that you cater to the needs of the market, and you are filling your dealers inventory
and the push pull strategy,
and in this entire thing you will see that you have to resolve the technical issues or whatever the problems are there in this, and you have to incur probably a lot of resources in promoting the product. So, these were some of the important characteristics of the introduction stage, and now I would like to introduce this choice probably, or I mean like whether you should enter into the market as the first one or probably you should be the follower. So, there is a lot of debate in the academic community whether the one who basically enters into the market first, commonly known as a first mover or probably known as pioneer, whether they have the advantage in the market in the long run, or probably the people who introduce the product by imitation or by being the followers, having a wait and watch strategy to enter into the market, whether they are more successful. So, one thing is there is what I have observed in the literature is that scholars are not conclusive as usual about any discussions. So, some people say that being pioneer is a advantageous situation. On the other side, some people say that being a follower is and we will talk about one of the study by Professor Peter Golder and Professor Gerald Terrace that came into 1993 in Journal of Marketing Research, which talks about the advantage or which provides the empirical evidence that sometimes I mean like followers are better placed than the pioneers.
So, yeah, I remember that in the Economist magazine, I think there was an interesting article that leading edge or bleeding edge.
Absolutely, yeah. So, we will talk about in our terminology this what is leading edge or what is a bleeding edge. Now, if you look at this choice of who has the advantage, I will first talk about the advantage which are said to these pioneers have when you introduce the product first in the market, and the first thing that comes into the mind is the high brand recall, the one who enters into the market. These are the product generally known as the brand becomes synonymous with the product category itself. In India we have so many examples. I have some of the examples from the worldwide brands which have become synonymous with this.
I think we have a typographical error here, it should be Band-Aid.
It is a Band-Aid, and this is Band-Aid, you know, this is a Johnson & Johnson product. Absolutely. And we have seen that the people go to shop and they ask for Band-Aid, not basically that
So, there are many other products which
Yeah.
have come about now,
Yeah.
but they take advantage of this Band-Aid's popularity.
Yeah.
So, there can be the original Band-Aid and many other Band-Aids.
Yeah. So, another thing is like this zipper, this that the thing that brings two clothes together to
Yeah.
and this Otis, the worldwide leader
Use.
in company, they have this brand escalators. We known that basically that product is known by its brand escalator. In India, you will see that I still remember the olden time, probably older days when the people used to remember this vegetable oil category by
As
the name
dalda.
dalda. So, that is one thing, and this is something which is very big, because that is not only a customer thing, it is a phenomena from the distribution side. Distributors will also keep a product which sells. So, whichever has a pull, because from a distributor's point of view, one has to understand that they also have limited resources, limited shelf space.
So, first movers brand often becomes the generic name of the category. So, that way they have the advantage.
Yeah.
That means, customer will always ask for a Band-Aid,
Yeah.
or the customer will, there was a time when customer will go and ask for dalda.
Yeah.
He or she might be getting another company's product,
Yeah.
but everything was known as dalda, everything was known as Xerox.
Yeah, zero.
You know, even though, so that, or for example, fridge,
Yeah.
you know, was originally a brand name,
Yeah.
but then everybody started calling refrigerators as fridge.
Yeah.
So, it became the
Generic.
brand name became the generic name of the category.
Yeah.
That is the advantage of the
Yeah.
first mover.
Yeah. So, the second basically advantage which comes into the and this is very significant, if we look into the marketing theories point of view, this is something which provides the advantage to the any firm which enters into the market. First, that whatever is the attribute that, because the customer or the market is not knowing that product category, and if you enter into the market and if you tell the customer this is the important attribute for purchase of the product in the purchase decision, and your product does well on that, automatically that chances of you winning over your competitor increases. So, establishing a product attribute as an important attribute also helps you in basically getting the market share, because if you do well on that attribute. So, one of the example of this could be like Colgate into the India, like Colgate emphasized on that tooth whiteness and that becomes the important criteria, that health benefit is still remains to be one of the most important purchase criteria, and where this brand does well, or at least customer perceive that the brand does well, is a probably huge advantage to that company or the brand in that category. The third thing that comes into the picture is that customer inertia. So, this is another important thing, that once you are accustomed to a particular brand or the product, the chances of you switching from that brand to the another brand are very unlikely, and you will not do it unless and until you are not having a sufficient or what do you say, that
strong presence on the shelf.
Yeah, strong presence on the shelf, or you do not have any strong reason to discard that brand, or somebody else is coming out with a significant profit and significant benefits to the customer in terms of discount or some other thing. So, a customer will not buy another competing brand of the vehicle unless and until he just for the sake of 2 kilometers of more mileage claim, or 5.
But it may, as you pointed out earlier, that sometimes you can induce your dealers by giving them extra commission to create that push to replace a prominent brand. So, usually people will go and ask for Dettol, but if either Dettol has not been able to cope up with the distribution challenge and is not present in a tier 2 city, then the customer may look for another category, another brand, but almost they will buy it as if it is Dettol, though it is just another antiseptic liquid. Or sometimes if a new manufacturer comes up with a variant and then gives higher discount, then the distributors might be pushing. Otherwise, as you have very rightly pointed out, the customer will keep on buying that product with which he or she initially bought and found it to be good, and so that is the advantage of being a first mover, provided your product is good.
Yeah. As long as it is said like the customer is satisfied, they will not switch for a small differential advantage.
Yeah.
So the any brand which is coming out as a substitute for the existing brand have to offer a significant differential. Now one has to note that when we talk about a significant differential offered to the distribution channel to create that push from the distributor to the customer, or offering that direct advantage to the customer in terms of, supposedly we talk about discount. So the discount or the higher margin offered to the distributor or probably discount offered to a customer is going to come from the at the expense of the unit profitability of each unit being sold. So that means that could be sometimes detrimental to the competing firm also. So it is a sort of you are getting entrapped into the others basically game, that you may start offering a discount as compared to existing or the incumbent brand, the pioneers brand, but you may not be able to sustain that thing because you will not be having enough resources to continue to have that kind of a strategy, and there is no guarantee that the customer will change their brand behavior or the brand purchase behavior in favor of you, because as soon as the discount goes, it is quite possible that they come back to the original brand also.
Correct. And sometimes the original pioneer brand can do good marketing strategy and permanently give the discounting challenger a position can be created that they will always be considered as the option B.
Yes. And the basically fourth important advantage these people have is that pioneers is said to have is that since you are the first in the market, and we talked about in the previous session about how the sales progress in the introduction stage or any, and we talked about the fixed cost. Now the one who has the larger number of sales, I mean sales unit, can spread that fixed cost
absolutely
on a larger unit sales. That means your unit fixed cost or your over total cost is cost of production is, or the overall cost in terms of the marketing cost also. If you have a larger sales, you can spread the fixed cost over those large number of units, and your cost is less as compared to your competitors.
Yep.
So there are some of the companies which are said to basically they adopt this strategy that when they bring the product in the market, they will keep the prices high and they will keep on bringing the prices down. Probably Texas Instrument follow in some of the product category this kind
even
of
Apple for their iPhone they follow this.
So their cost goes down as they reach on the higher levels of the production. On the other side, the customer who another competitor who begins with a lower sales level, for them to compete at that kind of reduction in the price level is something which is very difficult. So those could be the hard times for the competitors if your pioneers have that very significant the advantage of economies of scale. And then yes, you can have the technological leadership which you have talked about, that if you bring the product, you are synonymous with probably the pride or the prestige of being the first in the market, and then you are seen as basically a leading brand or the leading company in the technological area. So these are some of the advantages which are present with the first mover. There are certain disadvantages which are also attached with the first mover. One of the most significant disadvantage which is said to exist is that crude products. So when you bring the products in the market, and it is observed that the products generally come,
I mean all the finer points have not been worked out. So it is still have some a little bit of prototype characteristics.
Yeah, So whatever you might have done in the lab level, it will happen that that you might have tested the product at the laboratory level, but the actual market conditions, the uses condition, or the way customer uses a product might be different from what has been specified or what has been tested or designed, and in that case the product may not do that well in the initial stages. I mean
also some new product developers, they I mentioned this chasm. What happens is that the early adopters or the pioneer buyers, they are a little bit more tolerant for the cosmetic features or aesthetic features. They are more interested in the technological performance or functional or utilitarian performance.
Yes.
And so they would like to have the latest phone,
Yeah.
they would like to have the latest laptop, and in these cases the company which has come up with that product might not have paid enough attention to the rounding of the edges or the color or the feel or the weight and so on. And what happens is that good pioneers, they have this continuous improvement
Yes.
planned as versions
Yeah.
right in the beginning.
Yeah.
But if on the other hand they have not planned for it, then they will be at a disadvantage, because as you have the other category which we will look at, this fast follower, they will come and they will come up with some
Yes.
rapid cosmetic improvements
Early leaders.
which will endear them to the customer.
Yeah.
So, the Japanese used to do that very often.
Yeah.
Like the original breakthrough products came in America, but the American products were not that finely value engineered, not as good in quality yield as the Japanese products. So, the Japanese products were followers, but they scored in the market
Yeah. Yeah.
because the product appeared to be less crude.
Yeah. The next thing is improper positioning. What is the better example than Tata Nano? We have already discussed. Tata came out with this Tata Nano and then they have positioned it as a people's car, and then it was labeled as a cheap car. So this, you do not know exactly how the what you are thinking to position and how the market is going to receive, and that absolutely no idea about being market reaction is probably a disadvantage. On the other side, if you look at the early leaders or the followers, they can see the market response, and all those some kind of feedback or idea about how the market reacts is known. So this is another advantage. And then one advantage I have written is earlier arrival, is that you reach to the market, you take the product to the market before the time or the market is ready to accept.
Before the demand has really,
yeah, before the demand has actually materialized, or the people have
or
realized,
the early majority not yet arrived.
ready, yeah, yeah,
Not yet
so,
ready.
ready, yeah. And the last thing is that lack of resources to compete big firms. So this is another thing which I would like to highlight here, is that sometimes or many times this small time entrepreneurial firms, they will face this problem that if your product is, you are basically a pioneer, you brought a very good technological advancement into the market. I mean the significant movement or development in the technology, those efforts have gone. So your product is good from the technology side, but you do not have a market power or the resources or the cooperation or the strength of a brand to compete with the followers. So some of these things like the market power or the efficiency of or the effectiveness of the marketing function, which probably an existing incumbent firms may already have, that could be a hurdle for this pioneers in the market. And the last thing is that which is observed in this large organization is the organizational inertia. So organizational inertia is that as you were saying, like the firm has to continuously innovate. Now what happens is, a company which brings the product first in the market and tastes the success in the market, many times it happens that there is some kind of complacency seeps into the organization,
Right.
and that basically makes them not to bring new product into the market or bring continuous improvement into the product, keep learning, and then probably bring the better versions, so that the majority in the market can accept the product. So that is why what you talked about, that valley of death and all those things also comes into the picture. And these are the things, these are some of the important disadvantages which exist with the pioneers. I think we can stop here, and when we will meet in the next class, we can discuss about the advantages and disadvantages of the follower, and then we can wrap up this discussion about the first mover versus follower, and then we can also talk about an important choice, whether you will go with a penetration pricing or a skimming pricing strategy.
I thought we can also therefore in the next session discuss a case which is a very nice one for this first mover versus follower.
Yeah.
Is this case of paper boat.
Absolutely.
And which now we have a fast follower
Yeah.
from Dabur.
Yeah.
So, Dabur has actually leveraged their Hajmola brand,
Yeah.
and have come up with this those beverages which are exactly like the paper boat beverages,
Yeah.
harping on nostalgia and emotion. And they have copied in a, I will use the word copy within quotes, that they have, Dabur has come up with similar packaging, Dabur has come up with similar beverage varieties. So, they they have come up with a little bit smaller package with a little bit lesser price, and it is an interesting battle playing out right in front of us, that whether paper boat will succeed as a first mover,
Yeah.
and will continue to battle this threat coming from a much bigger competitor,
Yes,
which is
absolutely.
Dabur.
So, all these concepts get illustrated in that
So, maybe
case.
we will discuss that,
Yeah.
and we will ask you the people who are attending this course to make your own observation in your
Yeah.
own marketplace, that how this battle between paper boat and Dabur, Hajmola Yodel is playing out.
Yeah. Okay.
Okay.
Thank you very much.